those who've watched quite a few of my videos, which are done indoors as opposed to the ones in the open air in Hyde Park when I'm refuting the Protestants, Muslims, and whoever wishes to attack the Catholic faith, will notice that to my left is this picture of our Lord Jesus with rays of blue and red issuing from his heart, and below it the words, "Jesus, I trust in you." That is not just some fanciful representation. That is an artist's representation of the vision Jesus gave to Sister Maria Faustina, or Helena Kowalska, as her actual birth name is, the Polish nun through whom Jesus instituted the Divine Mercy devotion. This was given to her in 1931, and Jesus' wish was that it be propagated throughout the world. And that is the visual centerpiece of the devotion, which is particularly focused on the Sunday after Easter Sunday, which is shortly upon us. In addition, Jesus instituted the Divine Mercy Chaplet. Just reading from a Catholic Truth Society booklet about the Divine Mercy. It states that on the 13th and 14th of September 1935, Jesus dictated the Chaplet of the Divine Mercy to Sister Faustina. He called it a prayer to, quote, appease his wrath, unquote. He promised many graces to everybody reciting it, i.e., the grace of conversion and a holy death in the state of grace. Quotes, whoever will recite it will receive great mercy at the hour of death. Priests will recommend it to sinners as their last hope of salvation. Even if there were a sinner most hardened, if he were to recite this chaplet only once, he would receive grace from my infinite mercy. It is this sort of statement, though, which is allegedly made by Jesus, that's caused a lot of people to be suspicious, because it just seems to be too much mercy, not enough penance. And we find that in 1959, we have condemnations of the work of Sister Maria Faustina. And it's placed on the Index of Forbidden Books, her work, the diary. And we are taught to treat it as extremely suspicious. After the Second Vatican Council, and John the 23rd has been replaced by Pope Paul VI, and crucially, an accurate translation of her diary has been obtained. The Church begins to look at the writings of Sister Kowalska more favourably, Sister Faustina. And a certain Karol Wojtyła, Bishop of Krakow, pushes forward her cause, a better and more accurate, more fair representation of her alleged apparitions and locutions from Jesus. And so he is Pope from 1978, and finally in the year 2000 she is the first canonization of the 21st century. And so the feast is instituted, but it's after a period where she is held in great suspicion. And today, those who style themselves traditionalists, many, do still say, we can't celebrate this woman's visions, we cannot celebrate the Feast of the Divine Mercy. As I say, it's too much mercy, it's out of balance. Well, that's for them to reflect upon. And the Church has spoken, unless you think the Church is being decapitated, as some of those who style themselves traditionalists do. That's at the extreme end. We have this feast. But though now it is entirely legitimate and has spread throughout the Catholic world, it wasn't always so. You might say, well, what is the connection between this and the visions of Maria Valtorta that appear long after Sister Faustina died before the outbreak of World War II? And Maria Valtorta had her visions during the course of World War II and subsequent to World War II. What is the connection? That's interesting. I didn't know there was one until I took delivery of this book of Maria Valtorta called The Little Notebooks. And I got to the diary entry of the 16th of May 1953. So this is at a time when the Divine Mercy devotion is held in great suspicion. Jesus speaks to Maria Valtorta. He says, "You have received the novena and chaplet of the Divine Mercy at the right time. Pick it up and recite it, so that my divine mercy may open hearts in mercy to you and the work being the poem of the man God, also known as the Gospel as revealed to me." Jesus continues, "All those hearts closed to justice and charity towards you and the work, and pray for the work and everything else." So the purposes of reciting the Chaplet of Divine Mercy are to open hearts for her and the work that she's produced through Jesus, and the hearts closed to justice and charity towards her and the work. And this is to offer prayers for the work and everything else. And Jesus, in fact, that term Divine Mercy appears quite a lot in the writings of Maria Valtorta, in the diaries and in the Gospel as revealed to me. But it's only here we're beginning to get some explicit connection with the writings of Sister Faustina. So that's the 16th of May 1953. If we go forward to the 26th of May 1953, we get something very explicit. Jesus says, "Make me, I mercy, known, and make my prayers dictated to Sister Maria Faustina, known to as many people as you can." Jesus calls himself I mercy, I-mercy there. And he's naming Sister Faustina directly. Jesus continues, "Every soul you bring to me, mercy, raises your level of glory. If only you knew the torrent of grace I pour out on those who pray to me, mercy. Make me known. And every year, from Good Friday, always a fateful day for you, to the second Sunday in Easter in Albis, recite the Divine Mercy Novena in order to bring back to me all those who are remembered in it." It used to be called the Sunday in Albis and the second Sunday in Easter. So Jesus is telling her to pray the novena from Good Friday to the second Sunday in Easter. And this is exactly, and this brings us to the fact that now that second Sunday in Easter is the focal point, as Jesus wanted, as he says to Maria Valtorta. He goes on, 28th of May 1953. Recite it without waiting for the proper time for the novena, for true and proper mercy. So now Jesus is saying, yes, you should recite it from Good Friday to the second Sunday after Easter, but not just restricting it to then. Jesus continues, recite it for communists, especially those close to you, for heretics, schismatics, separated brothers, and also for priests of every order, so that they may become like my first priests, heroic, fervent, true salt giving flavour to souls, and true light giving light to souls. So we have there Jesus giving a practical reason to recite the novena. There's real danger of communism in Italy still. I made a video previously about the perilous situation Italy was in 1948, when it looked like the Communist Party might win the election, and how it was revealed subsequently that there was a communist plot as soon as they got power to start destroying the Catholic Church physically and carrying out all kinds of atrocities against those in holy orders. But that was averted. But that didn't mean the communist threat was thoroughly averted. But there's a wider set of groups Jesus is referring to benefit from the recitation of the novena. And we have a further diary entry on the 3rd of June 1953. On the evening of the 2nd of this month, 1,089 members of the PC, Communist Party, suddenly left it for the DC, the Christian Democrats, in Montefiascone. I don't give all the credit for this to my prayers or the offering of my sufferings, which have increased a lot these days, for the same purpose. Who knows how many are praying for this? At least all those who were told in obedience to the words of GC, must be Jesu Christu, to say the chaplet to merciful Jesus, so that they recite it according to his divine will, for the work, for the triumph of the Christian Democrats on the 7th of this month, and the conversion of the communists. However, even my prayers will have done something. Here I tell you, quotes, even if I die going to vote, or after voting, it doesn't matter. In fact, I offer my life for the triumph of religion, the Christian Democrats, for the conversion of communists, sinners, schismatics, etc. Death doesn't scare me. It will be the fulfillment of the life of my victim soul. Liberation, peace, this alone. End quote. And the final paragraph of that 3rd of June 1953 entry. Today I heard the news at 1300 hours from the Mattino of central Italy of the conversion of the 1,089 from the Communist Party to the Christian Democrats. Let's hope there are many more. So that then is a sign of the practical efficacy of praying the Chaplet of Divine Mercy. It converts atheists to Christianity, because then the transfer from the Communist Party to the Christian Democrats wasn't just a party affiliation. This was a serious move from atheism to the party of God, as they were then. The Christian Democrats in Italy have a checkered history. One isn't saying that this is some great God-given party, but in 1953 it was the means, the instrument to stop the conquest of Italy by the atheists, the communists, behind whom was Satan, as is always the case. Doesn't mean the voters for the communists, or even some of the low-level workers, were necessarily vicious, but the hierarchy, the leadership, the ideology is from nowhere but Satan. And so it was a great thing that was achieved in 1953. And thus we can say, given from my point of view, that the scientific, historical data and other kinds of data, topographical information embedded in the poem of the man God, the gospel is revealed to me, information which Maria Valtorta could not have inserted in there. She simply didn't have the knowledge to do so. And a host of other factors which I've referred to and which can be referred to from reading materials online and links I've given to works about Maria Valtorta, websites about Maria Valtorta. All these things speak to the authenticity and the uniqueness of this work. You don't have to accept it on faith, because there's so much in there that speaks for itself. So if Jesus is speaking to Maria Valtorta in this set of notebooks, then that to me is the real Jesus. And if that Jesus is saying, recite the Chaplet of Divine Mercy, and that the visions to Sister Maria Faustina were authentic, then that means to me the Divine Mercy devotion is wholly authentic. And that would be the case before John Paul had her beatified. Simply getting these documents in the 1980s, you could get the Poem of the Man God in 86. There's an English publication of it in 86. These little notebooks were not available until 2022. But if one had had them, if one could read Italian, back long before John Paul II beatified this lady, this nun, then one could say, yeah, I know this is an authentic devotion, because Jesus in Maria Valtorta's writings says so, and that's good enough for me. Whether it's good enough for you watching this video is another matter, but it's be good enough for me. And so on that happy note, we should all value and pray earnestly, more fervently, on Divine Mercy Sunday, and take in our hands, as we take the Rosary in one hand, the Chaplet of Divine Mercy in the other hand, and make sure we pray them both. Thanks be to God.